Welcome to part 2 of Chimp Chat. I am here with my friend Sulaiman. We're just going to pick up where we left off. Can you just tell me a bit about honey production?
Right. So honey production, I think it's one of the most sustainable way of living in most rural areas. And also, as you start working at Tacugama, there is a project initiated by Tacugama in some areas like Otamba Kilimi, where we try to engage more of community people and providing for the materials where they can do this beehive and harvest honey so that they can sell and have money for themselves without depending only on these illegal activities within the park. So instead of hunting in the park, they will prefer to have these honey hiving tools and fix it so that they can get honey there and they can sell and get money for themselves. So I think it's a very sustainable way of living actually.
And is this in all areas, or are you just focusing on the priority areas for now?
Yeah, for the honey, I think it is more of in the provinces, even though there are honeys in the western area, Peninsula National Park here, but not too much compared to the provinces. Even for Tacugama, the initiative of honey harvesting, it's more in the local areas, not within Freetown here. So these are just a future plan we are trying to talk about. And probably if we have enough money for that, then we'll try to establish our work in the provinces. I think it was more about the providing seeds, materials, and for people that are doing more garden work. I've started meeting with some of them for the past few days. I've met with some people, like some women in Bathurst who are doing more of garden work, and I try to explain to them, we are trying to probably get some fund for help with your work so that, you guys will stop doing illegal activities like doing stone mining illegally and also sort of things that are not too healthy. So, and they were actually happy with the idea and they are open up. I just want to probably, after this meeting again, because we've never talked about that since we last talked. And if we can able to get that done, it can be a very big initiative and very big project because these are women I know they have a lot of kids. Most of them have their husbands they don't have any good job. So they only depend more on this garden job. So if we can able to get a fund wherein we're able to provide for them seeds, fertilizers, materials like hoe, watering cans and everything like that, they can be very much happy and it can be very much helpful. Also, it can reduce the burden on this hunting because most of the people like these are women, their husbands are hunters. They normally go into the park, do hunting there, go there, cut sticks to burn charcoal. And these are all illegal activities like deforestation, poaching. These are things we are against. But the only way we can able to succeed is to make sure we balance the equation by not trying to totally stop them for anything. Like if we are about to stop them, we have to make sure we provide for them an alternative way of living. So if their husbands are not actually hunting anymore, but their wives have sustainable way of getting income, they have their gardens, they have been helped with seedings, fertilizer and other things. It can be very much helpful. I believe with that also our work can be successful.
Right. Yeah, we'll speak with them and ask them what it is that they would need. Yeah, you're right. I mean, we can't just go telling someone that they can't do what they've been doing when it's a means to make money to survive. And so, yeah, providing the alternatives, absolutely. But we won't know what those are unless we speak to people, right? Because not everyone's going to want the same alternatives. Is that right? Or there's no pushback. There's no people saying, no, okay, you provided honey production, but we don't want to do that here. Have you experienced that? Or are they open to the alternatives that you're suggesting?
Well, for now, like most people that I've talked with, these are more of people that are doing gardening work. So, and I'm also planning to engage men, and because I've already engaged with the women, the one that are doing garden work, and I'm trying to also engage with their husbands and also try to get views from them. And next week, I'll try to also engage with the men and try to make sure get their own views and see how best you can understand their problems and see which kind of solution we can bring in to help.
That's wonderful. I couldn't think of any other questions that I had because I feel like this is just kind of a short introduction of things that I want to discuss, that I want other people to see here so they can be aware of what's really going on and what people need and what we can do together, what we can do here to help and to get feedback from you and just how we can collaborate so that we can actually produce a successful project and not just, okay, I'm going to just keep asking people for money and then I want them to know what it's really going toward, that it really is going towards helping people that live near these endangered primates and the importance of conservation itself, not just because you're saving endangered wildlife, but what these animals mean to the people that are living there, what they mean to the forests and how much people rely on the forests. I hope the first of many talks that me and you have that we can share with the world or whoever is going to be listening.
Well, for the Bathurst community, I can say it is very close to the sanctuary. I can remember 1 year ago, wherein we had an escape, and some of the chimps actually came to the Bathurst. There was one even climb a roof. I can still remember as a chimp named Michael. He climbed up the roof, spoiled some parts of the roof, went to the garden, destroyed the garden, and went back to the sanctuary. So these are all what they've been through. And that's not actually the first time. Yeah, it's not the first time. I can probably sometime I will try to go and get a picture of a place I'm talking about. Like there is a garden, it's very closer to the sanctuary, very closer to our waterway area. We are in sometimes the wild chimps come inside to the garden and steal some of the crops and go back. Because they know that I worked at Tacugama, whenever I go, they see me, try to say, oh, these guys, our chimps are coming here to destroy our crops. I tell them, like, these are not the chimps we have in the sanctuary. Those are the ones that are living in the wild. But I understand again, we are also trying to protect the wild chimps, not only the ones that are in the sanctuary. So by that, we need to try to address the condition of the people. Yeah. And even again, we have a team today that went to the provinces to go and rescue a chimp. And the guy that we tried to connect the chimp to, he actually was traveling and he met the chimp, in a small village. He got some pictures and later posted on Facebook and we saw the picture. We tried to contact the guy and he said the people that got the chimp in the village said the chimps who are coming around to spoil their crops and they set near a trap, and the baby got trapped. And that's how he was captured and kept as a pet with them. And I'll try to probably forward that video to you and you can see. And there are a lot of challenges what these people go through. Like these animals come for their crops. They are also afraid sometimes for them not to be attacked by the animals. So these are all the challenges they face. And by that, we will just have to make sure we try to explain to them how important these animals are to we, and also try to make sure we explain to them better to understand how best we can live alongside these animals and live peacefully. Because if not that, there can be more vengeance wherein their crops have been destroyed and in return they are not getting anything, just like that. They will not let things slide. They have to make sure they protect where they get money from. So that's why normally I said, I don't blame them 100%. I sometimes blame the system because there are conservation organizations in Sierra Leone which are being sponsored by the government, but there is not so much of livelihood support going on within the country. If we want the people to understand and protect these animals, we have to make sure we provide for them an alternative of living so that by protecting these animals, there are some benefit they are getting. So you see, and that's why I believe Bathurst can be a very good example if we try to do that and see how best we can set example from there. And if we see a changes, then we can forward it to the provinces and other areas.
It would be hard to try to explain to somebody not to see the chimpanzees as a threat for when they're in their space and they're foraging their crops or things like that. It's understandable to see why they would. It's either me and my family and my crops or the chimpanzee kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So it's understandable to see why it might be difficult to explain to some people not to hurt the chimpanzee or not to, how to explain
Yeah, I know actually what you're trying to say. That's the thing. That's the thing.
Humans are the ones that are encroaching in their territory, so they don't have anywhere to go, so they have to go into the villages to get these crops, and so it's like, how do we explain?
Yeah, it's really, I don't know how to say, but it's really tricky how to manage this kind of situation. But I think managing situation with the humans, like we are the ones supposed to handle things and make sure just try to know how best you can able to manage things. Because the only thing, these animals, they depend more on the forest. So we have to make sure we know these are like no-go areas. Certain areas we have to make sure let it be no-go areas. That's why even sometimes I get issues mostly like on the tour trying when I'm having some government officials. I take them to areas where there have been a lot of deforestation going on and make sure for them to see these are things that are not affecting only the humans that are here, but also the animals. They depend on this forest, they get their crops there, they have their families just like we have ours. If we keep destroying all this forest, it's going to be very difficult for them to survive. But I think it depends for the individual again, because some people don't have this kind of empathy of these for the animals. They just see them like any other animals that they can easily kill and eat, but they don't know how important they are to our ecosystem. Chimpanzees play a very key role in human existence. Most people don't even know that chimpanzees play a lot of roles by reforestating within the forest. So that's why if you look around, wherever you see chimpanzees, there's a tendency for that place to have a lot of dense forest. Because whenever they eat seeds, they poop around. That's how the seeds keep growing. We get more trees, get water, or fresh air. We just have to make sure we educate these people and make sure they understand these are the reasons why we need to protect these animals and for them to live but not to go to extinction.
So how are you going about with the education outreach? Are people coming to the sanctuary to learn about it, or are you just speaking to people where you live?
Yeah, well, I do it in both ways, talking to people like almost every day on the tour, not only about the chimps, but make sure them understand these animals are so special, we need to protect them. And I explain to them why we need to protect, because some people, if you just say, we need to protect chimpanzees, they say, why? Other animals are there, why only chimpanzees? But I normally take my time to explain to them how important these animals are, and these are the reasons why we are trying to protect them. We don't just think because they are just chimpanzees as we want to protect them, but explain to them the real reason why we want to protect them. And again, also sometimes I get people seeing it like a fun, even sometimes in my area say, you guys are making too much effort to protect these animals. Why? I even make sure I explain to them, like putting myself down, try to make sure they understand. Because if you understand, you can only care for something if you understand it. If you understand the value of something, that's the only time you have time to care for that thing.
Right. Saving chimpanzees, it also helps save other animals. Like, indirectly it helps save other animals but it's not just the chimpanzees. I mean, that's the main focus.
Yeah.
But yeah, like people that would think that are correct in thinking, why are you focusing on just the chimpanzees, and why not other animals? But I think it all goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
All the other animals that live in the forest, that also depend on activities of the chimpanzees.
Yeah. So just like what you're saying, I do get a lot of questions, like most of the tours where people will ask me, like, we guys are just protecting chimpanzees here. What about monkeys? What about these other animals? I said all wildlife in Sierra Leone are protected by law. The only issue we are having is with this enforcement of the laws.
Welcome back to Chimp Chat. I'm here with Sulaiman. We are going to continue our talk from last time, where we were discussing the importance of chimpanzee conservation and education and sensitization with communities, explaining to them the importance of conserving the subspecies of the Western chimpanzee in Sierra Leone, because we owe it to explain why we, not that we're trying to say that chimpanzees are more important than people, but just why they are important, also how to peacefully coexist.
I think for the educational aspects is very much important, because we've seen a lot of situations where people are doing things thinking it's normal, which is not. And, we have to make sure for them to understand true education and sensitization. There's a practical example where, like, recently a chimpanzee was totally killed in the northern parts of Sierra Leone in a village called Kamasasa. And, they are widely celebrating it on the social media, making a video and mockery tying the chimp on the, on the stick in the village, passing with it up and down, which was really sad. And, a friend of mine who is a journalist, saw the picture on Facebook and he sent a screenshot and a link to it. So I went on Facebook. I watched the picture. It was very sad. And, the only explanation that I had from that video was that, the people killed the chimpanzees because the chimpanzee was running after a little bear, which is something that is not really normal because, wild chimpanzees that have never lived with human before are emerging for their filming. So even if they see the run away. So like for them to say like the chimpanzee was running after a little girl that was like not really matching to me because based on my own observation of land from chimpanzees, I've seen wild chimps many a time at Tacugama, if the first see the run away, like there are many occasions where they come in contact with wild chimpanzees, but as soon as they see the run away, like telling me that chimp was running after a little girl, that's why the chimp was killed. It's actually not a matching story for me. That's why I think it is more important for us to educate these people more out there to know how important these animals are and see how we all can live, side by side.
So also not just explaining to people why it's important to conserve this species of the chimpanzees, but also the enforcing laws or lack thereof. I know that cooperation with law officials is...
That's one of the biggest issues I had, protecting wildlife for Sierra Leone. There are a lot of wildlife laws, that are just on paper, but they are not really enforced. Just imagine this incident of these chimpanzees being killed. I can tell you, like, I did a lot of search, but there was not any special, statement or anything like condemnation from any wildlife department across the country. Nothing was done about that. Like, it just went, easy, like something which is very normal, which is not. And I believe, the law has not been so much effective when it comes to protecting our wildlife for Sierra Leone. Because I have another, like an instance, there's a guy also upstairs in Bo. He's actually a journalist and also a lawyer. Well, can you imagine? He was holding a chimpanzee as a pet. Yeah, and I tried to reach out to him to talk through Facebook, but he didn't reply. And fortunately for me, one of the oldest and the biggest journalists, like Omar Fofana, he also reported for BBC sometime. And he came to Tacugama and I took him on a talk. So I explained to him the situation. And in front of me, he called the guy and tried to convince him to give the chimp to the sanctuary. And the guy was like saying, he's not the owner of the chimp and his friends have the chimp. And, just giving different types of stories which was not really matching. I think it's about time for us to make sure we take it upon ourselves as a responsibility to make sure we protect this, wildlife, in Sierra Leone. If not that, I'm afraid, I think so bad sometimes when issues around, chimpanzees, comes up sometimes when nothing is done, mainly from the law enforcement agencies more what they're supposed to do, in protecting this wildlife, which is very sad. And, a lot of situations happen. Like there was a time also we got to call and there was a chimp in Kono. The team went there, they were like there for like 2 days just to get a chimpanzee, but they refused. And, interestingly, when, the team went to the police station and trying to talk with the IG to, explain to him the situation, the IG was actually in support of the person that was owning that chimpanzee as a pet. Like, so it was so crazy, I didn't believe it. And, the team came back to Freetown and, I tried to meet up with some stakeholders. And the next day they returned back to the place where the chimpanzee was held as a pet. They told them that they already killed and ate the chimpanzee. And after that, nothing was done. Nothing absolutely. So that's why I believe it is very much important for, these enforcement agencies to try to make sure they set some examples. Like for chimpanzees, according to the law in Sierra Leone, if you are caught either holding chimpanzee as a pet or even killing them for their meat, you can go for like 2 years in jail or pay 15,000 euros as a fine, which is like around $700. But I can tell like these laws have been passed like almost since 2019, but nobody have ever found guilty of this thing. And people are still doing it. Not like they are not doing it, but they are not being prosecuted. And for us, Tacugama do a lot. I give, credit to the entire team at Tacugama, but we don't have that kind of, capacity to prosecute people. We just hand over them to the appropriate authority and elect with them to do whatever they feel the law, bind them to do. But nothing has been done about that, which makes me to be very sad. Sometimes, I try to show my stress most of the time, try to tell people, like people that I know that are in the authority, mostly went on to tell them like, this is not really good. You cannot say chimpanzees are national animals of Sierra Leone, face of tourism, but they're not well protected. In other countries, when they say these are national animals, like everybody protect them. Everybody protect them. But Sierra Leone is the opposite. Like, it's really sad. Imagine, sometimes I feel so emotional of these animals. I never did like anything, about animal when I was going to school. But since I started working at Tacugama, I see how closer and related humans are with chimpanzees, and also how important they are to, our ecosystem. I think it's very much important for us, to keep them alive and not to let them go to extinction. That's where I've like centered most of my, research, my, sensitization, even within my colleagues about, how important these animals are, and see them as not any other wild animal they can easily kill, from the bush and eat, but see them as part of our human existence and know that they play a very great role in our ecosystem. Now we use a lot of fuel, we do a lot of carbon emission, and these chimpanzees play a very great role in reforestation. They eat a lot of seeds when they're moving around the food, and the seeds keep growing. That's how we get more forest, and that's how the forest is able to absorb the carbon dioxide and give us a very clean oxygen. So these are all things we need to make sure these people know how important these animals are. And also when we have more trees, we get more rains, we get more clean water to clear. These are all the importance of, chimpanzees we need to know around us. So it's really sad sometimes when I think about how these animals are treated here.
Yeah, and also, because chimpanzees are bigger bodied animals, there are certain fruits and seeds that they can, digest, and, when they discard them, that's what regenerates the forest. Not all animals are big like them can do, can process certain fruits or certain seeds that in order to regenerate the forest. And real quick, one thing about the laws too, it is great that there are laws, and it's great that the laws are in place, but what's the point if they're not going to be enforced? What's the point if people are going to be like, oh, I'm not going to be punished. I can still do it. Sure, it's illegal, but nothing's going to happen to me because, it's not enforced.
I've had like a couple of them on our tours, and they see sometimes like I'm being so stressed about telling them what these animals are facing. Like, let not just like the deforestation is very massive happening around the country. Mostly these are like mostly illegal activities like timber logging, charcoal burning, illegal mining, and these are also sets of problems. Like, but the poaching again, it's chimpanzees. The things people don't know is that chimpanzees, they don't give back like just human. They give back like after every 5 years. And if we keep killing them, there's a high chance for them to go to extinction. Just imagine like Sierra Leone in the 60s, we used to have over 20,000 chimpanzees, and now we only have like 5,500. And even this 5,500, the census of that number was done like almost 16 years ago. So I believe like the number have drastically reduced based on, the activities happening around these animals. So I'm afraid probably in the next 10, 15 years, there'll be not chimpanzees left in Sierra Leone. If, there's not too much of strict measures are being, guided against these animals. Yeah. So it's really sad. It's really sad, I feel so bad of these animals sometimes, but the way they are being treated. And after all, there's a law, binding to protect these animals, but it's not been effective because people are being so negligent of their work. They are not doing what they are supposed to be doing, like what they are being paid for, which is I feel so emotional sometimes when I try to talk about these things.
Right. When there's, an infant chimp that's in a village, for example, or like for every orphan chimp that's in the sanctuary, there was a study conducted, I think it was probably like 15 or so years ago, but that for every one chimp that's captured, 5 or more are killed because they are so protective of each other. And the mom is not going to let the baby out of her sight. And so I'm not sure. I could probably look into the updates of that, but.
Right. Yeah, well, like for chimpanzees, they are very much protective when it comes to their young. Like anytime we rescue a chimpanzee, like 8 or 10 of that big member we are killed just to protect that baby, which is very sad because, even within the sanctuary, if you observe them, you see how best they protect the younger ones. Like, and it happens the same in the wild. These are social animals. They want to live within their clans where they interact and, have families and, live just normal life. But if you try to get a baby chimpanzee as a pet for any use that it wants for, the adult will not let you just take that baby away from them because that baby is part of the group and they have to fight and process. They have to you just have to kill all of them before getting that baby as a pet, and which makes the babies to become very much traumatized before they get to the sanctuary. And that's why even sometimes that behavior, when they throw things at people, I explain to them during the tour, I say, this is not normal. You don't see what chimpanzees throwing things at you in the wild, even when they see the run away. But these animals are doing this because of what they're being through. They're being
there's a sign of distress. They're stressed out.
Yeah. They're being killed, they are tied on a rope, they were kept in cages, and they don't have any good memory about humans. So that's why I try to be more aggressive to us. But again, even for our own safety, it's not really good keeping these animals as pets. A lot of people don't know. That's why if you observe in Africa, there are a lot of diseases happening, people getting a lot of bad,
The zoonotic diseases, right? Because we can transfer from each other.
Yeah. Animals carry a lot of disease. And for chimpanzees, they are the closest relatives to human in animal kingdom. If you have a flu, you go close a chimp, you sneeze that chimp, you got that, flu from you. They get pneumonia, they get typhoid, they get hepatitis. We even have a chimp, suffering from polio, which they get easily transferred to humans. So, and most of these diseases, these are human, disease, and most of them got those diseases when they are living human before, in captivities, which is, so bad because normally in the wild, they cannot easily contact those diseases because they are living very healthy life. But if they come in contact with human, because they are very similar to human genetically, they can easily catch most of our disease, and which is also a disadvantage on their own side.
Yeah. After this video, I'm going to just also explain ways how people here that are watching, how they can help. It's certainly very helpful to just, I know social media is more, it's bigger, than people don't really go to websites anymore. Everything is on social media, especially like Instagram. And so if everyone that is listening can just follow Tacugama and share their posts, you don't have to donate, you just have to share, because the more people share, there'll be one person, that's going to donate. So the same with this YouTube channel. If you can just subscribe, if you can if you can share. Also, I'll post links for all this too at the bottom after this for my website, the Chimpanzee Preservation Program. It has links for you to donate. And I'm also going to add another fundraiser to raise money for the seeds for the farmers for alternative livelihoods.
See how best you can, help people and give them a better life.
Right. I mean, that is the key to any successful project, getting people involved, because we're explaining to them how much we care about them, and also we care about the chimpanzees. I mean, I know that the 4 subspecies, they're all either endangered or critically endangered, and I saw that the western chimpanzee was endangered, but I just looked it up today, and they're critically endangered now. And so the next step is extinction. There is no going back. So it's imperative that we explain this, and what you're doing with the education outreach and everything. And then also going to certain schools and talking to kids And I mean, that's what I'm doing here. But, you know, kids, they don't have money. They're not going to donate. I mean, but maybe they'll tell their parents. Who knows?
So, and again, like, this is just like, probably something we'll try to work on. And like, if God, like, we're able to get some seeds and, and complete our water dam project at battles and probably have any other big event planned to, work on things and another big project. And I think it can be important if we're able to create like a fundraising event where we, if possibly I can have chance to be there and, probably me being, working here and see how things happen. If I probably try to explain to people again and get know better because, this one is coming directly from the site and know exactly how things are working out there and, probably see some practical pictures, videos and see how actually people are treating these animals and how, people that are supposed to be benefiting, like the immediate people that are being affected by these animals and how their life is. And probably we can also help a lot and we can work on, bigger projects.
Yeah. Yeah. I also have a website where I make jewelry and 100% goes to conservation, and I'll post it at the bottom. I think maybe the next one, when we talk next, we'll have updates of the progression of the water dam project.
If I try to involve more people and, a bit better, and we'll have things happen, simultaneously. In our next meeting, we'll try to discuss on that and probably, share some pictures and some videos of present developments of how far the projects have gone on. Yeah. We just have to keep fingers across and hopefully, wish for more donations to come on because we are actually, on the way, but there are still, a long distance to go. Hope to get more funding inside and, probably continue and finish this project and hope for more in the future. But for now, I think that's all that I have to say for now. And again, I'm just hoping so that one day the government can, see how important these animals are and make them priority and, protect them. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know it's hard because they're all a completely different time zone. But yeah, it's always good to see you and talk with you. Like if things come up that we think of that we want to address or just get it out there, what we're doing, who we're doing it for. And our goal is we don't want chimpanzees to go extinct because that can't reverse that. So, well, okay. Thank you, my friend.
Bye, you're welcome. Enjoy your day.
Thanks, you too. Well, next time, have a good one.